Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, I appreciate you for making today's show a part of your day. And we're live right now on the Niners Report. I put together an hour's worth of content here on the show. And I didn't mention Brandon Aiyuk once. We were not going to talk about Brandon Aiyuk today to provide an Aiyuk update. And then he reports to practice for the first time in 2 weeks. So we have to talk about him here on the show. Let's get you caught up to speed with everything that's transpired over the last 24, 48 hours. You had Ian Rapoport of the NFL Network reporting on Tuesday that the 49ers and Steelers have a trade in place. They have basically agreed to terms on a trade, and after not hearing from the Niners over the last couple of days, the Steelers were in wait-and-see mode. And it was up to the Niners on whether or not they wanted to pull the trigger, trade Aiyuk away because they don't want to pay him, or decide to bring Brandon Aiyuk back, because Rapoport added within that reporting that the Niners have a deal out to Aiyuk, but Aiyuk up to this point has not accepted it. We talked about that on the show, and then last night, Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network was talking about the Aiyuk situation, and he injected some optimism into the Aiyuk situation. He said Aiyuk wants to stay and has always wanted to remain with the San Francisco 49ers. Garafolo reported that the Niners have actually increased their offer to Aiyuk, and a deal is close. Both sides are in lockstep in trying to get a deal done, but both sides just have to iron out a few things. And we don't know what those things are. It could be guaranteed money. It could be average annual value. It could be years. It could be a signing bonus. But the good news is that both sides seem to be getting closer to agreeing to a new contract. And then last night, you had the GOAT, Jerry Rice, best wide receiver in the history of the National Football League, take to his Instagram. This is Tuesday night going into Wednesday. And he hinted that maybe an Aiyuk decision could be on the forefront. And he said this on Instagram: I guess we will all find out tomorrow, goats. Will he stay or will he leave? And he even tagged Brandon Aiyuk. Which brings us to today. Consider what Rapoport said, what Garafolo said. I think it's a good sign that Aiyuk, for the first time in 2 weeks, was back at Niners training camp on the practice field, not partaking in practice. He is still a hold-in, but he was at least present, and he was wearing Niners gear. This was the first time that Aiyuk was at the SAP Performance Center in Santa Clara since he dapped up John Lynch and dapped up Kyle Shanahan. That tells me that both sides have conversed over the last couple of weeks. They have had some good conversations. And Mike Garafolo's reporting makes sense that they might be getting closer to a deal. And if they can iron out some of the nuances of this contract, as Garafolo said, Aiyuk will return to the San Francisco 49ers. And I know that I've talked about this damn near every single day this offseason. That's what it seems like, right? Not quite. It's an exaggeration, but it feels that way. Sometimes I've talked about Aiyuk on multiple occasions. My prediction has always been that Aiyuk returns to the Niners, they continue their partnership, and Aiyuk gets about $28 million per year, and he gets $60+ million in guaranteed money, which is more than what Deebo Samuel got 2 off seasons ago. And we're in this era now where situations like this are absolutely fascinating because of social media. We can get reports in real time as far as what's going down. And Matt Barrows of The Athletic was literally time-stamping Brandon Aiyuk updates from training camp today. Now, some of this has humor injected into it, but this is the reporting that the people need. 11:11, Make-A-Wish. Matt Barrows saying that Brandon Aiyuk, in a red t-shirt and black pants, is spotted watching practice from the sideline. He has a blue water bottle in his hand. He watched from about the same depth behind action as general manager John Lynch, but was not next to the general manager as he'd been at an early practice. Few moments later, 11:29 a.m., during a special teams session, Aiyuk strolled over to talk to Deebo Samuel, who had taken a knee at the sideline. Aiyuk did the boredom clap, arms behind the back, and then forward into a clap for a while. And then he chatted up wide receiver Danny Gray for a little bit. 11:31 a.m., Aiyuk has a sideline chat with national scout, Josh Williams. 11:33, Aiyuk has a quick handshake with John Lynch. Actually, it was more than a handshake. It might have been a dap, hard to say, but they seem to have a quick, good-natured chat after that. 11:38 a.m. This is obviously on the West Coast. Aiyuk has some words again, good-natured, with cornerback Deommodore Lenoir after Lenoir breaks up a pass along the sideline during a red zone drill. 11:43, Aiyuk wanders over to a group on the sideline that includes Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Kyle Juszczyk. He chats with Kittle for about 40 seconds. 11:45, Aiyuk gets a football from an equipment staffer. He throws away his water bottle, which is clearly empty. And then lastly, 11:47, practice ends. Aiyuk walks off the field, throws a couple of passes back and forth to the equipment staffer. End. Thank you, Matt Barrows, for that. To take to social media to provide us minute-to-minute updates is fantastic stuff. This is peak journalism here. Now, I graduated from Temple University in 2015. The industry has come a long way, and there have been a lot of changes. Adapt, evolve, or die. From the time that Matt Barrows probably studied journalism back in the day, this is a completely new world. In all seriousness, what does all of this mean? I hope that we're close to a Brandon Aiyuk deal. And if the 49ers did not want Brandon Aiyuk on their football team, and Brandon Aiyuk did not want to return to San Francisco, don't you think a deal would have been done by now? If the Niners were fed up, if they didn't want the player, they didn't value the player, they could have traded him away in the lead up to the draft when reportedly they were offered a first-round pick from Pittsburgh. They could have traded him away in the lead up to training camp so that they would know what their offensive personnel is going to be for the 2024 season. They could have traded him away after Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade. But the fact that the Niners have not traded him away and the fact that Aiyuk hasn't demanded a trade to the point where he would have accepted the trade to Cleveland or accepted the trade to New England tells me that they both want to continue their marriage, their partnership, and they're going to get a deal done at some point soon. Keep in mind that when George Kittle signed his contract extension during the offseason of 2020, he didn't sign that deal until August 13th. We're recording this show on August 14th. Now, at some point soon, you want that offensive personnel on the practice field together to try to figure out what your offense is going to look like, to get that feel, to get those reps in, to try to get amped up and ready to play a very good New York Jets defense in Week 1. Lastly, some thoughts on the Pittsburgh Steelers here. And I just tweeted this out on my X page at Chase_Senior right before going live. Brandon Aiyuk has told the Niners there are two directions. You can sign me, pay me, and keep me, or you can trade me away to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I did some thinking about this over the last couple of days, and here are my thoughts. Why would Brandon Aiyuk want to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers? I get that in relationships with our employer, we want to be wanted. We want to be compensated. And if the 49ers don't want Aiyuk, nor do they want to compensate him, I could see why he would want to go somewhere else. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, all offseason, have shown this huge interest in Brandon Aiyuk. Now, I know his agent, Ryan Williams, will quote tweet me, and he'll call it fake news and say, this never happened. Your client demanded a trade. He said he wants to play with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's tweeted directly at Mike Tomlin, and he mentioned the Steelers as the lone team that the Niners should trade him to if they don't want to pay him. So it's not fake news. It's actually the reality of the situation. But you think about the situation in Pittsburgh and you compare it to the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of people will be shocked to hear this because Mike Tomlin is a great coach. He seems like a great man. I'd love to hang out with him. Players have called him a father figure. But when you're an NFL head coach, it comes down to wins and losses and what you do in the playoffs and Super Bowl championships. Look no further than Kyle Shanahan. 4 NFC title games in 5 years, 2 Super Bowl appearances during that stretch. He's collapsed in some big games. He's won some big games. This past playoff run, he kind of exercised the demons that he can't come back late in a game. But he's still without a Lombardi trophy, and there are a lot of sectors of Niner fans who want him gone. Mike Tomlin has not won a playoff game since 2016. It is 2024. So that's point number 1. Point number 2 for Pittsburgh. The QB situation is a massive question mark. Is Russell Wilson cooked? Justin Fields can barely complete 60% of his passes. Mike Tomlin has not been able to get offensive coordinator right over the last several years. We're not talking last couple of years, the last several years. And that offense has been anemic. And you compare the offensive situation in Pittsburgh with the offensive situation with the San Francisco 49ers, and the overall team success and the offensive success, the quarterback play, the head coach, the play design, the system. If Brandon Aiyuk can get that contract close with the Niners to what the Pittsburgh Steelers are willing to give him, and maybe he's been using Pittsburgh this entire time to try to up the Niners' offer, he should take the Niners' offer. Because when you win, when you put up production, when you're on a big-time stage, you're playing for Super Bowls, you're still a great player, playing with other great players, you're going to be a lot happier than bad quarterback play, bad offensive system, bad play design, bad play calling, and not winning on the big stage. I get the Steelers are a big brand, so too are the Niners, though. So with that, I ask you this. Where will Brandon Aiyuk play in 2024? SF for the Niners, PIT for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let me know right now down in the comment section. And don't forget to give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on Instagram. In addition to the long-form content here on YouTube, I put out a lot of selfie videos, instant reactions, and short-form content on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior on both platforms.